United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for all those who have passed away in our community this past week, and also for our servicemen and women throughout the world. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Gahn?
Here.
Mr. McGough?
Here. Dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, agenda for the City Planning Commission meeting held October 22nd, 2014.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3B, Controller's Report for the month ending September 30th, 2014.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Anything, clerk's notes?
Nothing, Mr. McGough?
Any announcements from council?
Yes, Mr. McGough, I have one. On Sunday, November 2nd, the Deutsch Institute will be having a champagne celebrity brunch at the St. Mary's Center on Mifflin Avenue. This year, the celebration will be called Happy Birthday, Charlie Brown. Tickets are $25 in advance, and there will be continuous serving from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you.
I have two as well. The first one, for a few years now, State Representative Marty Flynn has been conducting a coat drive for the needy in his office. And this year, Charlie Newcomb and Carrie Newcomb got involved with Representative Flynn to also incorporate a school uniform drive for underprivileged children within the school district. They asked myself and School Director Paul Duffy to help in any way we can as well. So I wanted to announce that coats, blankets, uniforms for the needy can be dropped off at two locations. They can be dropped off at State Representative Marty Flynn's office on North Main Ave and West Side, or they could also be dropped off at Coast Tire in West Side. And if there's anyone out there that knows of somebody that is in need of a jacket or of a school uniform, please contact any one of us so we can get these items to those who are in need. Secondly, a bit of very good news. Next Thursday at 10 a.m. there will be a groundbreaking ceremony at the North Scranton Junior High School where this project will finally get underway. Thank you.
And I have a few. Please remember in your prayers the family of Robert Puglisi, who passed away this week. Mr. Puglisi was a former Scranton police officer. Also, please remember in your prayers the families of former DPW workers Alan Wheeler and Richard Kashuba. I received a call from DPW Director Gallagher. He has a good amount of grass seed that was given to them that's left over. If any organization, such as soccer, baseball, football leagues throughout the city would need grass seed or could use it for their fields, please call Tom Lynch at 570-348-4165 to make arrangements. Thank you.
Just a reminder that next week's meeting will be on Wednesday evening here at the theater at Lackawanna College. At the same time, caucus will be at 6 o'clock and the meeting will begin at 6:30. Also on tonight's agenda, the OECD 2015 action plan will be taken from the table and put into 7th order as item 7G. Citizens will have an opportunity in 7th order to comment if they wish. And that's it.
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
Joan Hodowanitz.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton. I'm not going to comment on item 7C. I think Marie will probably speak eloquently to that, so you don't need to hear it twice. But I was very interested this afternoon to hear that West Hazelton has come out of distress status under Act 47. Now, West Hazelton is nowhere near the size of Scranton. Its finances are nowhere near as complicated. But, you know, it was a breath of fresh air to hear that somebody got out of distress status, especially when you consider that in just under 18 months, Scranton's going to celebrate its 150th anniversary on April 16th, 2016. And I really hope that we are not in distress status when that day comes around. That would be so nice. I've also been listening to the news to see if Governor Corbett has signed the changes to Act 47. Apparently hasn't done so yet. I don't know how long he has before he has to make that decision. Assuming he does sign Act 47 changes, which is what most newspapers and news organizations feel he will do, then we're going to have a clock that's going to start ticking. Basically 5 years, could be extended up to 8 years. If that happens, then one way or the other, we're coming out of distress status. Hopefully, it won't be on a stretcher being carried over to a receiver or to bankruptcy court. Hopefully, it will be in good condition, somewhat as West Hazelton's managed to exit. And we need to do that. The other issue that still concerns me is the upcoming 2015 budget, which is due now in 3 weeks. That's due to you as a council on November 15th. Is it actually going to come to you on the 13th, or will it come to you the following week? Because the 15th, I believe, falls on a weekend. How will that work?
I'm not sure, and I talked to the mayor about that, and he was hopeful that it would be prior to the 15th, that the Friday prior to the 15th.
Okay, hopefully that's good, because, and I would assume,
If not, it would be that following Monday.
yeah, that as soon as it's presented to council, it'll be made available to the public on the city's website.
I believe that that's been the practice in the
Yeah,
past.
I would, you know, many people are waiting for that with bated breath. I'm waiting for it with bated breath, especially since we, you know, the city's doing it without benefit of the 2013 audit. I don't think a lot of people understand how important the audit is. Okay, it is a touchstone to make sure that you get realistic numbers in your 2015 budget. But, you know, if it's going to be late, it's going to be late. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, next Thursday at 10 a.m., I'm going to be on the top of Greenridge Street watching that groundbreaking ceremony and saying, hallelujah.
I'll see you there.
I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Elman?
Hello, my ex-friends, I guess. I wasn't even going to come tonight to alienate anybody any further, but I like to watch the Lone Ranger from 7 to 8 at night, but he'll be out at 12:30. You know, whether I show it or not, I think I'm a somewhat intelligent, like the average person. I went to Memphis State University and the University of Tennessee Medical School in Memphis for X-ray. And when I finally fulfilled my quest of owning property, I made the mistake of Scranton, it looks like. As much as I like the people of the city, it's just going, my neighborhood is just gone. It's just gone. You can't imagine what goes on around there. Yeah. I don't know what the solution is to it. I fought and fought and fought with a guy in New York City that he's I mentioned, he has 127 pieces of property. He lives in New York. He doesn't care one iota who's going to rent the house across from me. I even made him an offer to buy it, but he wants, you know, more. But owning that property makes me somewhat your boss and others. Don't like that, do you? When I tried this week to find out the tax on Mr. From the Licensing Bureau. I just was wondering how much of a building permit they paid for the new college. I got the runaround, and Mr. Hinton refused to return my phone calls. He should have the common courtesy to answer a simple phone call. I never went through this with Mr. Setzinger, and he always told me, either in person or answered my phone call. That's nothing. That's common knowledge, and for some reason they won't tell me. I have my own ideas why. And I must have talked to 12, 15 people at the grocery store like I always do. And people are just so totally disappointed that you gave that money to the banks last week. As much as this city, as much pressure there is on a quarter of this population to pay taxes, and all we hear is going up and up and up. You've made a hero out of Mr. Amosa's report, and you don't listen to what the people out here tell you, the people that put you in those seats. It just goes in one ear and out the other, I think. The only reason you state that you want to have good relations with the bank so we can borrow more. This borrowing is what we're in trouble for all the time. There's no way of getting out of it. Nobody's going to do nothing about doing something about the phony nonprofits. Every single day of the week we're losing. Between fires and just abandonment and tax, we're losing our property. It's just gone. I don't know, pretty soon, I don't know what the universities are going to do for police and fire protection and street lights, because we can't afford it no more. You people just don't see, you seem to be avoiding the issue of your children and your children's children that people talk to me about briefly. They're not going to be able to afford to live here. It's sad. It's sad to me. I try to be a good citizen to make up for a lot of my past mistakes. Like I've said so many times, I got cars going by my house 60, 80 miles an hour, and this isn't the police. It's not their fault, because I see police cars. When they go by, the cars speed up. I don't have no curbs. My yard flooded today. I had to get a shovel and clean up all the stones and dirt off the sidewalk. My sidewalk's 100 years old, and I put pavement on it when I bought the house. I don't have no curbs. I'm not getting nothing for my dime with the people of this city.
Thank you, Mr. Elmer.
Yeah, I thank you for letting me come up here. Did I give you a headache tonight?
Not tonight.
Good. I changed my cologne. I got some. Yeah, I got some good stuff instead of the dollar store.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to address council?
Watch out, I think that guy just bought a samurai sword, Mr. McGarvey. I used to run on that doll. Okay, I'd like to once again bring up DPW. And as we speak, it's raining. And last night I walked by a trash can with 3 trash cans full of cardboard. Now, in the morning, we will be paying for the rainwater that soaks into that cardboard out at the trash. So I'm so tired of bringing up recycling. It's time we develop a plan, and maybe I'll put something in writing and some suggestions next week, because I'm tired of talking about it. It's been 2 years ever since the DPW had to work for minimum wage. I've been bringing this up. Now, on that truck deal, I know it's passed, but what happens after the lease is up? We have to get another lease because we won't have any trucks. The company recalls them, and if you want to purchase them at that point, you can purchase them. Usually it's at a ridiculously high price from my experience in the automotive industry. And, you know, one of my first jobs in a truck garage was putting together, refurbishing trucks, and it was mostly my boss. My bosses did that. It was a small shop. We took 20-year-old Mack trucks, put new transmissions in them, tore cylinder heads off, fixed the pistons or whatever was wrong with them, and people were tickled to death with what they got for their money. And it's really a shame that we can't continue to do this, because buying new is way more expensive than fixing in most cases, unless perhaps you can't get somebody to fix them anyway. And on that landmark loan deal, I did mention last week that it's probably more trouble than it's worth not to repay it. However, it's time to revise the authorities, and the authority of the authorities. They should not be allowed to go behind council and do whatever they want and then hand you the bill. And I mean, nobody's been hearing from our previous mayor. Rumor has it he doesn't live here anymore. And I mean, maybe it's because he's disappointed in the way things worked out for him. Maybe you don't want to hear Ron Ellman grabbing him at the supermarket. And, you know, it's hopefully someday you'll be able to walk out of this office and keep your head up high, and, you know, enough sensible people will have, will say, well, gee, you did a fairly good job. But it's up to you. You have, what, 3 more years? A little more than 3 years, so it's your game from there. But it is really time to put a stop to authorities acting like they are the elected body or elected dictators of Scranton. That parking authority had nothing to say. They would not provide information. They would not. It looked like the Kefauver Commission there. You know, it's like I pay my taxes. You know? Joe Costello back there in around 1952. And I really think it's time that we start looking in the back fee collections, especially from people that can damn well afford them. There's some pretty significant names on there. I know of one. Both parties work for the government, so you know that the income is in excess of $100,000 a year. They owe $15,000. They have 6 properties, and it's just a shame that we're not getting after that, because your only recourse from there is to borrow some more or raise taxes and fees on the otherwise paying customers. So it's not acceptable. And final message, I'll just take a second. Don't trust Harrodsburg anymore, please. The pilots, Mr. Amoroso, once again, it just goes on and on and on. We're getting all of the positive things that would have helped the people from the town knocked out by the courts. And then the new laws I'm seeing are, we have to go for court approval. Well, 2/3 of the county lives outside of Scranton, so it's a no-win situation for us. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson.
Good evening, Council. Marie Schumacher. Tonight, you all have an opportunity to take the easy wrong over the hard right. Paying back somebody else's debt, especially when we are in the shape we're in this city, is a terrible precedent to set. Last week, I read you the opinion of a well-respected solicitor on whether or not we owe this loan. Tonight, I'll read you a second, which is excerpt from the 2012 audit, and it's talking about the Scranton Parking Authority, and it says the management agreement, and this is with the receiver, covers single-year periods beginning September 11th, 2012. The agreements are automatically renewed unless canceled 60 days prior to the term. The newly appointed manager provides budgets, consulting advice, records collections and disbursements, operation of parking facilities, and record retention. Services not included in the management agreement that are still the responsibility of the receiver are structural repairs and maintenance to parking facilities and all other capital expenditures, payment of real estate taxes of the receivership estate property, and debt service payments. So this is Mr. Washow's problem. It is not City Council's. It may make it easier for the city, but again, taking the easy way instead of the proper and more difficult way is the proper way to go in my estimation. What bothers me is you all were elected to represent the taxpayers. But in this instance, you're picking winners and losers, and you pick the winner as Landmark Bank. They will get 100% of what they're looking for, of what they say we owe, and the taxpayers are the losers because we will get to pick up the slack. Going back to a meeting, City Council minutes from the 2012, to provide a brief background, this is from the Finance Chair speaking, to provide a brief background, a $139,000 increase in real estate tax revenue results in a 1% real estate tax increase for Scranton residents. If one does the math, so if one does the math for the $1.9 million that's in our budget this year for picking up what the parking authority is not able to pay on the debt that the previous councils have guaranteed, which is what we actually owe, that alone accounts for 7.9, make it 8%, of our property tax increase. If you take what you're going to be paying according to the terms, 10 years, the sinking fund, all of that, it probably is going to be another 3%. I think that's an awful lot for the taxpayers to pay, especially when you probably noticed in today's paper the Social Security increase, on which a lot of people unfortunately have to try to live, is going to be a grand 1.7%, and I pretty much guarantee that the average property taxpayer that will be more than eaten up by what you're doing tonight. Also, I think Landmark was somewhat shoddy in doing their due diligence for the loan that the money that they loaned to the Scranton Parking Authority, not to the city. And I think again, the terms, I didn't have a chance to really look at it too deeply, but it appears to me that we must be making the assumption that the parking meters will not be sold. And as far as last I heard, the sale, and if you would please stop using the fancy monetizations, it just means sale. This is Scranton. Let's say we're going to sell them, not try to bamboozle people by monetizing.
It could be a lease as well.
Okay, it could be a lease.
We're just putting a dollar value on it. That's what monetization is.
Well, their assumption is they're getting paid from the parking meter revenue, and they don't have a thing in there about guaranteeing that you will not monetize the, or sell the parking meters. Again, it's a terrible precedent, and I don't know why the mayor ever reconstituted the authority. All that does is add a solicitor's pay to, we get to pay that too. And I feel very bad for us city taxpayers and for the employees, because they're not going to get 100% either. This is probably the only debtor that will get 100%, and it's 100% of a bill that we don't even owe. The ones that are guaranteed and the ones that we have to pay will take a hit, and this bank will not take any hit whatsoever. It's wrong, and I hate to see you vote that way, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No one else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Wexler.
Thank you, Mr. McGough. I just have a few things this evening. I would like to point to a cooperative effort that was made by the DPW and the Scranton Sewer Authority. They worked together to repair a bad situation that was up on East Mountain Road. That we were able to share some equipment and materials between the two agencies and fix a deteriorating situation up there, and we're happy that that was repaired before winter set in. This week I also spoke to City Engineer John Pochis. I think we're all familiar with the Green Light Go program that was talked about last week for the traffic light and signal improvements. The city is putting together an application to participate in that program. The final details are not available yet, but the application will be submitted before the due date. The due date is November 17th. The city will submit its application on November the 14th. In regards to the leasing of the garbage trucks, I had the opportunity to speak to a retired DPW worker who said that he's comfortable that we're doing the right thing by leasing. During his tenure, he was working with the trucks that were purchased, I believe, from New York City, and he told me that those trucks were junk and they were down more than they were up. So a person directly involved with that thinks that we are doing the correct thing. And the other items I have will be in motions. Thank you.
Mr. Rogan.
Yes, just a few brief items. Most of my comments will be on the voting portion of the meeting as well. Just two items I wanted to mention. One, while certainly glad to see paving in a lot of the neighborhoods from our OECD program, I did have a resident that contacted me. They went away for vacation the day before the posting for the no parking went up. The next day, all the cars in the neighborhood were towed for the paving. So what I want to look into is if the city has any protocol for, and it wasn't the city that did the paving, this was all contracted out. What I want to look into to see if the city has any protocol so this doesn't happen again. Maybe a week, a little bit over a week for residents to plan, so they know that the road's getting paved on this date, we can't have any parking there, and I think it'll be easier for residents and for the contractors as well to be able to plan ahead. I'd hate to see in this situation with somebody that was going to visit relatives out of town, it was a day trip, they got a call from their neighbor saying, hey, your car's being towed, the city's paving the road. I don't think that's fair, and that shouldn't happen, so that's something I will be looking into. And finally, I just want to comment briefly on a letter that we all received from the University of Scranton. It was actually addressed to Mr. McGough, but since we worked hard together on this project, I did want to mention it. This is regarding the new Rehabilitation Education Center that's being built. And they partnered with NEPA Alliance to do a comprehensive economic impact study. And those who aren't familiar with NEPA Alliance, they help a lot of local businesses with grants, loans, facilitating different programs to keep current businesses running and to help upstart businesses, trade partnerships, things of that nature. They're a great group. I've worked with them on a number of projects. But to sum up this report, it states that the construction and engineering involved with the new center is estimated to produce $87.7 million in economic activity. Total estimated labor income is $36.1 million. And the total estimated state and local taxes are $3.1 million on this project. So just seeing a report like this, it really, and seeing the men and women at work on that project when many people are out of work, makes all the hard work that myself, I know Councilman McGough worked very hard on it, and we're able to convince former Councilman Joyce to vote with us to get this project going. So this is a good project for the city, and we're glad to see this economic development. We certainly wish the university would provide more to us in lieu of taxes, but this is a good project nonetheless. And that is all. Thank you.
Mr. Evans?
Thank you. On pension reform, I'm still gathering some information. I hope to have some more documentation next week. I think I'm going to make a recommendation of what I feel is the type of changes we need in pension reform. On the quality of life ordinance status, I talked to Pat Hinton today, and the ordinance is currently in draft form, so hopefully we'll see that in a couple weeks, or maybe a week or so. I would point out on the quality of life ordinance, I did some research on Allentown. They also have a version of this. And since 2006, Allentown has been averaging nearly 3,000 tickets annually and approximately $220,000 yearly in fines. Some years as many as 5,000 tickets were issued in quality of life type situations where we, like our ordinance is proposed to do. And many of those tickets were issued by the Allentown police officers. And if we get buy-in from the police department, and Chief Graziano is very much interested in this ordinance, the possibilities are really endless. I would expect to, I don't know about matching those numbers, but I think we can put a pretty good dent to it, and it could be a large revenue producer for the city, as well as a positive reinforcement of what we need to be as a city, cleaning up some of the blight in our neighborhoods. So that's all I have for now.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes, thank you. I received a few inquiries about the status of the Rockwell Avenue Bridge project. According to our city engineer, there was a recently held utility coordination meeting held on site. Shop drawings have been submitted and approved. There has been tree clearing, fence removal, new detour signage has been installed. There has been a project information sign that's been posted, relocation of a neighbor's tool shed, and they are preparing to construct the pedestrian bridge. No major work will be performed at the site from October 1st to December 31st due to the fact that Leggett's Creek is a wild trout stream. This week I was made aware of some issues on Froud Avenue with pipes being blocked by leaves. This affects the water runoff and sends the water into neighbors' yards, and it floods them. I forwarded that issue to our DPW director, so hopefully that can be taken care of. I attended the Bull's Head neighborhood meeting Tuesday night. I have a list of requests from residents that we forwarded to the DPW and police department. Some of the issues included the stop sign at the intersection of Philo Street and Providence Road is faded and needs to be replaced. There are 3 major potholes at Langstaff and Stores Court that residents would like filled if possible. Currently, neighbors are filling them with gravel, and they have caused damage to vehicles. Residents reported that there is no street sign for Stores Court, and they would like one put up if that is possible. An elderly gentleman who lives at 905 Albright Avenue is having trouble with water runoff flooding his yard. And in the 2500 block of Boulevard Avenue, there is a catch basin that residents are reporting is blocked and causing problems. And finally, residents would like to request more crime watch signs in the Weston Field area if that is possible. And that is all I have this week. Thank you.
Just once again, very quickly, a reminder that next week's meeting will be on Wednesday evening, not Thursday, and it will be held here at the theater at Lackawanna College at the same time. Caucus at 6 o'clock, meeting at 6:30. Also, a reminder that there will be an opportunity to speak on the OECD action plan, which will be taken off the table. And prior to the vote in 7th order, there will be another opportunity to speak to the action plan.
5B, for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Aris Engineering Group Ltd. to provide architect engineer services for Phase 1 of a street lighting project within the downtown area of the city of Scranton to commence within 7 days after the final execution of the contract and be completed within 30 days after commencement.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction of resolution, appointment of Jack Loscombe, 3115 Parallel Drive, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18504, to the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Loscombe's effective date will be October 9, 2014. Mr. Loscombe will be replacing Dominic Giorgetti, who resigned effective August 28, 2014. Mr. Loscombe's term will expire with the term of Mayor William L. Corright.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question.
Yes, on the question. I'll be voting no for this tonight. Not anything personal against Mr. Loscombe. I think he would do a good job on the commission, but I don't feel that it's proper to appoint someone to a commission who is in litigation with the city. Mr. Loscombe is currently suing the city, so that is why I will be voting no. Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that there was, we did investigate, and there is no prescription against Mr. Loscombe holding this position since it is not a compensated position.
I would just state, I voted to appoint Councilman Loscombe to City Council. I will be voting to appoint him to the Civil Service Commission. Had the pleasure of serving with him on council. He was a great colleague to work with. His knowledge and expertise of fire department operations as a retired fireman and as former public safety chair of City Council will be a great addition to the Civil Service Commission.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the Council Number 54, 2014, an ordinance, sale of tax delinquent property, more commonly known as corner of Park and Terrace, Scranton, Pennsylvania, tax map number as noted, to Thomas J. Kane and Mary M. Kane, 95 Linwood Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18505, for the consideration of $1,000.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the Council Number 51, 2014, sale of tax delinquent property, more commonly known as 540 North Rebecca Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, tax map number as noted, to Arnold Domes Jr., North Rebecca Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18504, for the consideration of $650.
What is the recommendation of the chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the Council Number 52, 2014, sale of tax delinquent property, more commonly known as 532 Prescott Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, tax map number as noted, to James Smith and Denise Smith, 528 Prescott Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18510, for the consideration of $1,500.
What is the recommendation of the chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Finance for adoption, file of the Council Number 53, 2014, approving the issuance of a note by the Parking Authority of the City of Scranton in a maximum aggregate principal amount of $4 million to finance the 2014 project, authorizing the pledge of the city's on-street meter revenues as security for and the source of payment of the Parking Authority's 2014 note, authorizing the execution of the pledge documents, authorizing the mayor and officials of the city to take other appropriate action, providing for the effectiveness of this ordinance, and the severability of certain provisions and repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question.
Mr.
Could I,
McGuff.
prior to,
Oh, okay.
I just want to say that we received very late today a term sheet that was agreed upon by the Parking Authority, the administration, and the two banks that are part of this legislation. While we have not had a great deal of opportunity to review the terms, I did speak with Mr. Bolzoni, the business administrator, and also with Solicitor Shrive. We were also in contact with the bond counsel from the Parking Authority, Attorney Conaboy, and that the terms that were agreed upon are within the parameters of the legislation that was proposed to us. I will say that all of council was somewhat upset by the fact that we received this at such a late notice, but was the decision of council that we would keep this on the agenda and that we would vote on it this evening. I'm sorry, I just wanted to...
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. McGough. The comment that I would like to have is I think that in this case, the administration and the city effectively negotiated the terms of this settlement. As of Monday, we were not going to have a deal. We were going to table this, and in the course from Monday to tonight, we were able to reach a settlement that is acceptable to the city and to the bank. It also shows that we can negotiate when we have to, even though we may not be in the best negotiating position. I'm very happy the fact that the city stood its ground where it was, and we ended up with like I said, a settlement that we can deal with. I'd like to just re-echo my comments from last week. I don't believe that putting this off and not paying it will help us at all. I believe we have to get these type of issues settled so we can move forward and get our financial house in order. Thank you, Mr. McGough.
Anyone else?
Yes, just regarding this issue, this is an issue that I put a lot of time thinking about and spoke to a lot of people on both sides of this issue. And what this decision came down to for me was if we chose not to pay these debts, it would be left for a judge to decide. Obviously, there would be hefty attorney fees involved, and I think everyone in the city knows what Scranton's track record is when it comes to court cases. I don't know if we've won one in my lifetime. So that being said, we can't take the chance on rolling the dice and leaving it to the courts. Should the loan have ever been made? No, it shouldn't have. It should have came before City Council for approval, and it wouldn't have been approved. And I think part of the reason why this loan never came before City Council was because there was an attempt to hide how bad the finances at the Parking Authority were at that time. The parking garages in the city, many of them should have never been built. They were built on a mountain of debt. So much that the city authority cannot make a profit, can't even break even, never mind make a profit off these garages. The former mayor, the former Parking Authority board, and the former director of the Parking Authority caused this entire mess by running up debt, building garages that never should have been built, and spending money as if it were free. But nonetheless, at this point, I believe it's in the best interest of the city to move forward with the sale of the bad assets of the Scranton Parking Authority. In order to move forward with that sale, these items first need to be taken care of. That's why I will be voting yes on these items, and I look forward to the city finally being rid of these assets that we're losing money on every year. Thank you.
I just have one comment. When we talk about who created this entire mess. I think we need to take into account in 2012, when the previous council let the city default on the parking authority, 2 parking authority bonds. That has not helped at all. In fact, I believe it's cost the city almost $5 million. $5 million. So that has not helped. So I think when we talk about who caused this entire mess, we shouldn't forget that part, because that was a major mistake that we made. And we cannot forget that moving forward and making financial decisions for this city. Thank you.
I don't want to debate what we did 2 years ago, but at the time, if we recall, City Council called in members of the Parking Authority Board and asked for financial information. We were provided with a budget that was literally 2 pages and didn't provide any information. And at that time, there was no choice. The city taxpayers could not just keep handing out checks without any accountability at the Parking Authority. Although some of us may differ how we got to this point, I think moving forward, we can't ever let that happen again, and that's something I think we can all agree upon.
Yeah. I'll interject.
Just one.
Can I? Okay.
I was just going to say, if you, no matter, and I followed that in 2012, and I remember the caucus, but just to bring it down a little bit, if you have a credit card and you sign that agreement, you have a Sears credit card, and you charge, I don't know, $5,000 on it, and you don't pay the $5,000, you're going to get whacked. That's what happened. When you guarantee a debt, you guarantee a bond, and you don't pay it, you get in trouble. And this is one of the results of that. Okay. So that did have an effect. I just wanted to point that out.
Mr. Rogan and I have disagreed on this since the time that it took place. The original landmark loan was to allow the parking authority to make good on its debt payments. When council voted to basically bankrupt the parking authority, it caused them to default not only on the landmark loans, but also on the other debt that they had. Now, whose responsibility that was is at this point, it's a moot point. It is my feeling that the city, whoever was at fault, caused the defaulted debt in one way or another. And it's my belief that it is the city's responsibility to make it right. I know that there is disagreement with people, but I think it is the ethical thing to do as far as the city is concerned. To answer one other question, it is believed that upon the sale, I'll use the Scranton term rather than monetization, or the lease of the garages, this debt would be, the loan that we are voting on this evening would be repaid at that time. It is hoped that this loan will be repaid in full within a year. Okay. That is the purpose of taking care of these debts. It's like trying to sell a house that has 2 liens against it. It's better to pay off the liens to give you a better opportunity to sell your house. And that's what we're trying to do with this legislation. And hopefully we will get to the point where we can monetize the parking garages and pay off this loan. It is the intent to do that within, as I said, within a year. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, my comments are, number one, the term sheet meets the criteria that was laid out in our legislation. That's the most important issue. The credit amount or the loan amount is actually less than, the interest rate is less than, and the term is less than. So on that side of it, it's a very positive. I feel that the city administration did a very good job of getting that to this point. On a going forward basis, this is about the future. It's about rebuilding our credibility in the financial community. That's what this does as well. So for that reason, I'm voting yes tonight.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D for consideration by the Committee on Finance for Adoption, Resolution Number 93, 2014, ratifying and approving of the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton on behalf of Akshar-Lackawanna Station Hospitality to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, acting through the Commonwealth Financing Authority for a local share account grant pursuant to the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act in the amount of $2,500,000 for the project to be known as Lackawanna Station Restoration Scranton Project, located in Scranton, Pennsylvania, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials of the City of Scranton to accept the grant, if successful, and execute and enter into a local share account grant contract and commitment letter with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to accept and utilize the grant in the amount of $2,500,000 awarded by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for such project.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question, I would just like to comment that while we have in the past heard on this project, the station, this is a project that I think everyone in the city would like to see developed. It's right at the gateway to the city from West Scranton, or to the downtown from West Scranton. It's a great property that needs to be rehabilitated and developed and become a cornerstone for the downtown area. So I think this, approving this grant application is of great benefit to that project. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E for consideration by the Committee on Finance for Adoption, Resolution Number 94, 2014, ratifying and approving of the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton on behalf of Scranton LTI LP, 335 Adams Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania 18503, to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, acting through the Commonwealth Financing Authority for a local share account grant pursuant to the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act in the amount of $615,000 for the project to be known as Leonard Theater Adams Avenue Project, located in Scranton, Pennsylvania, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials of the City of Scranton to accept the grant, if successful, and execute and enter into a local share account grant contract and commitment letter with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to accept and utilize the grant in the amount of $615,000 awarded by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for such project.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Finance?
As chairperson for the Committee on Finance, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question, once again, this property is one that has been sort of undeveloped for many years. It's a great property. The people applying for the grant have already done major work at the Leonard Theater, and I think everyone, again, would be happy to see the completion of this project and, again, make the Leonard Theater a property to be proud of within the city of Scranton.
If I could just add, oh, were you going to?
No, well, my only comment was that it's a very interesting location because that part of Adams Avenue, at least that half of Adams Avenue, is sort of our little version of Greenwich Village, and this is going to go a long way to even enhance that even more.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Councilman Evans and myself were at the University of Scranton Neighbor Night last night, and one of the things that was brought up was the Leonard and the impact that this theater will have downtown.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
7F for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 95, 2014, amending Resolution Number 174, 2009, entitled Authorizing Appointment of the City of Scranton's Representatives to the Tax Collection Committee pursuant to Act 32 of 2008 by replacing the current delegates who are no longer employees of the City of Scranton with current employees in the Business Administration Office.
As Chair for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7F.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7F legally and lawfully adopted.
I make a motion to take file of council number 44, 2014 from the table.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. Item 7G, which is now on the agenda, is the OECD 2015 Action Plan. That was tabled for a 30-day public comment period. If anyone would like to address council on file of council number 44, 2014, you may do so at this time. Thank you.
7G, previously tabled for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, file of the Council number 44, 2014, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the City of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the consolidated submission for community planning and development programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and the Emergency Solution Grants Program for the period beginning January 1, 2015.
What is the recommendation of the Chair for the Committee on Community Development?
As chairperson for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7G.
Second.
On the question,
Yes, very briefly, I would just like to thank Linda Abley and the entire staff at OECD for doing a great job on putting together this year's action plan. In the past, those of you that follow council, there have been numerous amendments to the action plans. This year, as funds each year become even more restricted, this year it was already allocated in a manner that was satisfactory to council, with a strong emphasis on two of the most important programs that we use these funds for. Number one, which is neighborhood police patrols, and number two, which is neighborhood paving.
anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Abstain.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. McGough?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7G legally and lawfully adopted. If there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.